At the moment still, we have 90% failure rate on all substances that reaches clinical trials. Our models, our concepts, our solutions is to have models that are really resembling what we are as people, instead of having something that is completely static and completely out of scope with what we are actually doing every single day. We want them to have no excuses to actually implement something that is human relevant.
Believe it or not, most new treatments are still tested today on animals, not humans. Mice, chimpanzees, species that share our biology but not our complexity. Dr. Elizabeth Pavez Lorie, CEO and co-founder of CompreVie, is working to change that. Her biotech company builds human-relevant models that transform how drugs, cosmetics, and other therapies are tested to work to help reduce the staggering 90% failure rate in clinical trials. Welcome to MedAccess AI, Stories in Life Sciences podcast, where we dive deep into the stories shaping the future of medicine and technology. I'm your host, Christopher Wilson, and here's my conversation with Dr. Elizabeth Pavez Lorie. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, excited to have you on here. And yeah, I'm just curious. I always like to know at the beginning, just like your entrepreneurial journey, like, what inspired you to move from academia into the world of founding CompreVie?
So I think that it started, I would say that it always has been the part of me trying to find ways to actually have an application to whatever is that I'm researching on. So I would never be the one that only wants to do, just put it like that, just to discover a molecule and just don't do anything with it. That's never been my aim. It's always been, okay, I've discovered this or I've done this. What can I do with it? Can I actually really, really help or solve problems with that? So the global aspect has always been there. I think it comes from the fact that I come from that kind of family, that we are also very much prone on making sure that we make an impact, whatever that impact is, but that it's worth it. So that meant, of course, that even though academia is extremely nice to work on, and I like that part of my journey, it was never going to lead to actually use the discoveries and the concepts that I actually developed during so many years to really reach the people that needed it, meaning actually the consumers in a way, making sure that we have products in our shops, treatments for patients that are tested in a way where we can be sure that the side effects are minute or almost none. At the moment, we have, still, we have 90% failure rate on all substances that reaches clinical trials. Can you imagine having that kind of failure rate in any other industry? It's like crazy. So,
90%. Wow. Yeah.
Okay. So that means, of course, that you can do a lot of things, cool stuff in the lab, and you have this different concepts that you use in the lab for doing those experiments and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, they are going to be tested on other animals than us humans first, before they reach the clinical trial. And that means, of course, that you change the landscape of that, because believe it or not, we are not mouse. We don't look like the mouse, or we don't look like a chimpanzees, or even a fly. We actually look quite different. Even though genetically we might have things in common, we look like we do because our environment is also very important. Our format of evolution has been different. This is why we look like we do. So that means that all of these factors are important when you are making that I would say modeling. And this is something that unfortunately has not been done, which means that we have an enormous failure rate, and also we have an enormous amount of side effects that actually come with that. So my journey started by making sure that I could play a little bit of a Frankenstein's scientist, so to speak, and make models of human tissues and organs in the lab. And that was what I started doing during my PhD, which I continued doing when I did my postdoc. And then during my postdoc time, I started thinking maybe this should be a company. Maybe this should be something that actually can reach people in a more diverse way. But to tell the truth, I didn't find anyone that I wanted to venture with when I was in Germany, because then I moved to Germany by that time from Sweden. And in that case, I then started thinking more about, okay, should we do this? Should we not do this? How am I going to do this? And so on. So I had it in mind. And then my husband got an opportunity to actually work for a company here in Austria, and we decided to move. And I said, okay, this is my shot. This is literally my shot of actually starting something. So I took it. And in that case, I met this incredible young woman, whiz in anything that has to do with, I would say, biotech engineering. She is super in that. And that means, of course, that, and she was also looking for another concept. She didn't want to continue in academia either. So we ventured together into what would become CompreVie. So in late 2022, we founded the company with the help, of course, of national grants, which you have in Austria quite a lot for companies that are just starting. And the mission and vision of the company was actually to make the human relevance. And what we mean with that is that we see the whole journey of the human, meaning that, as you know, if I ask you, for example, now, today you probably wash your face. How did you do that? Just show me with your hands. How did you wash your face?
Like this?
Exactly. You made a movement, didn't you?
Yeah.
You just didn't just go and do this. You made a
Doesn't work
movement.
that way. Yeah.
And you are actually laughing now. So you're actually, your face, your skin, your muscles, everything is moving. Okay? This is something that at the moment is not part of the modeling you do in the lab. It's not part of that at all. Another part is that you are there, I'm here, we are in contact with environmental factors all the time. Okay, both our skin and our inner organs are going to be submitted one way or the other to environmental factors. And that is also something that is very seldom modeled in the lab. So we said, okay, how can we make this happen? Well, I had my idea because I've been researching on these models, really intricate models of different human organs, specifically the skin, for many, many, many years. So I kind of had already that biology and how to make that happen. But what I wanted to have was also the part of how to make that model more environmentally accurate, with movement, with parts of how we submit ourselves, our organs, to different environmental factors. And that's where my co-founder Iphigenia could come in and help with and fuse these two very, very deep tech technologies and concepts together. So with that said, the name CompreVie stands for understanding life, and that is exactly what we want to do. So our models, our concepts, our solutions for pharma, for skincare, for cosmetics, to test their things, is to have models that are really resembling what we are as people, but also how we are exposed to other things. And that, we hope, will be the new standard, the one that everyone uses, instead of having something that is completely static and completely out of scope with what we are actually doing every single day, that we actually have models that do that. Because when we do that, then we have a chance to go and say to pharma and to all the other companies that are using animals, say, see guys, you can't now come to us and say that we don't have a realistic human model anymore, okay?
Yeah.
Because we have covered it. So you can't tell us that we have not done that. So that is what we want. We want them to have no excuses to actually implement something that is human relevant. That's the aim that we have. It's a very, I would say, steep curve and very, I would say, cliffhanger or cliff jumping mission. But I think that that's the only way to go for this. Otherwise, we end up having the problems that we have at the moment, where we have a lot of drugs that don't work for many people, even though they are out, or those that actually have a lot of side effects, which we could have actually looked at before that, etc., etc., etc. So many of those things. So that's kind of my journey so far when it comes to this. CompreVie has been able to be sustainable economically because of these grants that we got from national grants from Austria, but also due to an early investor, so an angel investor that actually believed and was equally crazy about this idea, and therefore joined us. And we have been also lucky to, due to the fact that Iphigenia, me, and of course the people that we hired quite early on, were able to successfully make a minimal viable product quite soon. We now are able then to do pilot testing. So that means that even if now biotech has gone, the steep downside bubble or the bubble bursted literally for all biotech at the moment, and it's quite, I would say, hard to get VC money or other money, I would say. We have been able to survive because of the pilot testing, because of the fact that we have been able to have early revenue in situations where others might not be able to do so.
How is the pilot testing generating revenue?
So this is one thing that is important to know. So the pilot testing is something where you need to do that anyway, but you can then reach out to companies which are in need of, I would say, a model concept for testing their products. It could be, for example, a molecule that they would like to see how that molecule reacts in a tissue or in an organ. Or, for example, we had one pilot tester where you have, which is actually doing a type of patch that you use when you are regenerating tissue inside you. So when you are doing reconstructive medicine for patients and surgery, then you will put like a small patch inside the body. And that patch is very important that it actually is compatible with the organs and tissues that it will actually support. And our technology can actually, in this case, be used for that. So testing that in a much more, I would say, not just in a much more human relevant way. Telling them, of course, giving them information that they will not be able to get otherwise, which is, for example, if we now put cells inside and make sure that they are making this tissue, whatever that tissue is, now skin, for example, with that patch, how is that happening in real time? And then we can follow that and we can give them that information and they can then go ahead and do other stuff. And for us, this is gold because we get a small portion of money, but we also get a lot of feedback from customers on what they would like us to do more, or how they see their journey in the future with regards to testing, etc., etc. So that is gold for us because then we can adjust in this early stage that we are still in. We can say, okay, but actually the thing that we thought was going to be what they needed is actually a little bit different, okay? And then we can adjust. Because the worst thing that can happen, Christopher, is that we get to the point of launching a service, which is in this case what we were going to do, and then no one uses it because it's completely irrelevant to actually the customer base.
Because you just developed it in a lab the entirety of the time. So that's
exactly.
That's a really unique. Yeah, when you say pilot testing, I guess in the US, we maybe call it more like benchtop or like in vivo, in vitro. So you're able to do that in-house for companies and still generate some revenue along the journey. That's really, I mean, did you plan that out in the beginning or does that just happen?
It's actually something that was both. So we knew that we wanted to do very early on testing. That we were completely 100% sure of, okay? But then due to the fact that we were in need of revenue, okay? And then I had conversations with, of course, I mean, I'm not a senior entrepreneur. This is literally my first gig as an entrepreneur, if you could
Yeah.
call it like that. Okay. So, and due to that, I'm humble and not blind. So of course I have other people that I go to from time to time and ask, am I crazy? Is this something that we can do or not? And one of the things that I would say is very seldom discussed is the part of trying to survive as a company without going for investment.
Yeah.
Okay, trying to survive and see how things can be done without having to go for bigger investments. And I think that the landscape pushed us to that as well. So saying that, oh, okay, we need about, I don't know how many millions actually to do all of this in, I don't know, 2 years, but maybe that's unrealistic for the market right now. We can't do it in 2 years. Okay. We will need to have another plan. So what plan can we do? What is realistic at the moment? And then just use your outside of the box thinking and go for it. And in that case, this is what happened. So we just started looking into people that would like to use our technology and see if they would like to be part of this. And we have had so far two very successful concepts that we have done. Because another thing, Christopher, one of the things that we are which is very important in all of this, is that we're trying to make sure that the platforms that we test, that we have in our testing concepts, are things that can be in the pipeline, in the lab, and for testing for a very long time. So we're talking about 6 months of testing. Okay, that means that you can use the same platform for a lot of different things, and the information that you gather is so enormous, and due to the fact that it comes from the same biological entities all the time, then you can make correlations, which are true correlations, not the ones that we have seen other people talk about in the news, but really do correlations and causation the way that they should be done. And this is super cool. So then we can do that. And of course, this is an offer that is really important for them. And actually, of the ones that we have contacted, this is one of the things that they really like. The fact that they can view the processes as they go, that they can, in this case, have a team that really understands them and understands what they would like to test. This is also very important. And the other part is that whatever comes out as results, that it's so based on human relevance that they can literally go to their side of the scale of customers and say, by the way, we tested it in this system, which is very human relevant, and we are certain that this will work. Okay. Of course, regulation still is very important to remember, that we still are with a hurdle of that, even though you have the FDA approving now in vitro modeling concepts much more, and that we actually can use in vitro models instead of going to animals. That's great. And in Europe, you have the same concept and the same push, but still, we have a huge hurdle when it comes to certification and concepts like that. So, but it's a start, and companies that, especially smaller companies that don't have, I would say, they would rather not go to other animals. They think that this is great. So for us, it's super, of course. And we are, of course, always looking into concepts like that, having other pilot testing concepts or collaborators that we can have for that.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I would think that that would potentially lead to them turning into long-term customers,
Yes,
after that. Like they can grow
yes,
with
and
you and learn and then, a
exactly, and
customer.
that's what we want. We want to also, I mean, as it is like when you have, I mean, when you are a company that is going to be based in a service concept, as you know, with any kind of service concept, you need to have the trust. Because you can come to a fair or whatever you are, a conference, and you can show what you can do, but the trust comes later. It needs to be built. So, and if you try to start early, if you try to be open-minded and also be realistic, because I think that sometimes we try to show that this is what we are aiming to do, but be realistic in that. And yeah, we're aiming to do that, but at the moment we're here. We're in this
Yeah.
place now,
Yeah.
and we're going to go there, and we're going to do this. But and that I feel sometimes that is lacking from a lot of entrepreneurs, to just be kind of down to earth and say that this is our mission and we really, really want to do it, but we are here right now. And that means that we're struggling with some things and we are aware of those struggles and we're trying to solve them. And that's the reality of it. We need to be more honest on that. And that's also something that I see. I mean, LinkedIn is an incredible platform, but you have a lot of people boosting their egos too much, I would say.
Yeah. No,
And
I
so on.
agree. I love that. Just the transparency, especially in this realm, is just, yeah, so key. I think people see through that long term too. They want the real. I think it's becoming more and more important. But this is just a question. I have this on here. I'm curious, and this may
Mhm.
not be it may not be true. It's what I'm interested in this because I looked at why it says that you were really believe in like having this be like open source or like an open system,
Mhm.
like flexible, like, and I'm curious how, developing these concepts, and if that is true that you want them to be open to be able to use like open source, like how
Mhm.
do you protect like IP, like that balance between like want other people to be able to use this for the greater good, but I
Mhm.
also have a company and want to keep some IP.
Exactly.
Like,
We have always said that, I mean, for companies and so on and so forth, of course, this is because, just to bluntly say it, the concept and the services that we are going to offer are going to be very expensive for academia, for example, just to put it out there. It's not going to be something that they are realistically going to be able to pay. But it is important for us that this technology or these concepts are things that can also be used by academia and can be also used by clinics. Okay? Because otherwise we end up having a system where it only benefits big pharma, it only benefits other companies that have the money to actually do this. So I see it more as a collaborative concept. So for academia, well, join us in doing work together. We do research together. Okay, we provide our services and our concepts that we can help you with, and you in this case do the research using those our platforms. Okay, and then we publish something great together. That will in that case benefit whoever is in need of those results. And that is something that both Iphigenia and I believe strongly about. The same goes for the clinic. And also because the data that will be provided on these models, okay, the data that we have is going to be so, I would say, so intricate. It's going to be multi-dimensional in so many ways that we will need to be able to use this data to predict or to analyze it in different ways, in multidimensional ways. We will need to have access to artificial intelligence concepts. And with that said, you open another, I would say, Pandora's box, because then you need to start thinking of, okay, do I make it completely open access for everyone to just use this data or not? Or how do I think about that? And I think that at the moment we have not come yet to a solution on that part, but we can say it like this, that we will never say no to any kind of collaboration with academia or the clinic, because we know that those are the ones that will never be able to afford to pay the whole thing. That's not going to happen there, okay? So it's not charity, but it is a way for us to be open to that, okay? To be open to their concepts. Just for you to understand, it's of course, in my case, I'm happy with having, at the end of the day, a salary where I can go on vacation once in a while, and having a company that has people that are actually happy in being in the company.
Yeah.
That's my viewpoint, and that's the same for Iphigenia, for my co-founder. So that means that we are not a company which is out there for, I would say, being predatorial. That's not our aim at all. Because if you want to be predatorial, then all the things that I've told you about before, all the things of actually revolutionizing something that we all are in such need of, are gone.
Yeah.
You can forget about that. And the credibility of that, being, as I said, honest, and being able to literally look people in the eye and say that I really mean this, then it goes away. So that's the part that I think is important. So I think that open AI, yes, absolutely. We in talking about it more and seeing how we can put our IP in a way in protecting it. Now we are filing for patents, so that is protected via patent concepts anyway. But when it comes to co-developing things, it's a co-development. This is why it's called co-development. So if, for example, academia, an organization from academia comes and says, guys, can we co-develop something? Well, we do that, but it's a co-development. That means that both of the parties get credit. That's it. That's how it is. It should be like that. It's not one way around. So this is, I think, another part of, I would say, is not a new thinking in entrepreneurship at all. But I think it's something that needs to be reiterated and looked at. The part of actually collaborating for the sake of actually making something better.
Yeah, for the greater good, but also balancing running a business, which needs to make money in order to survive and be scalable.
Exactly.
I think there is a way to do both. I mean, I just got done with the Conscious Capitalism conference, and so that was a lot of the discussion, but I do feel like there's a way to do both. It's exciting to hear that you're open to that, but also finding just new ways or trying to be creative. And then I think you had mentioned kind of with your team and motivating, or just like I'm just curious, transitioning from academia, there's the business part of it, but then there's the people side of it too. And just anything that you've learned from that, or how do you mentor and motivate your team? Because especially in an environment where it's a little unknown, you know?
Exactly. So I think that I was brought up in society, a Swedish society, which is extremely egalitarian, to say it in those terms.
Say that, what's the word?
Extremely egalitarian. So it's all the things that you are taught in school, you are able to find ways of actually making yourself heard, one way or the other. That means that my leadership comes with that, I would say, that twist in everything. I've always been a person that I'm pretty good in understanding what I called and making sure that my antennas are up when it comes to people and understanding where they are in their journey and really listening, making the time for that. Sometimes in organizations you find yourself that, oh no, but I need to have this talk with a person, and it's just going to be once a year, or hopefully maybe once a year, because I don't really want to do it. But actually, I like that part of my work. I really love it. So much so that most of the people that I work with in the concept of groups and so on and so forth, I'm still in contact with, even though they have moved on to different journeys, to different concepts. I really want to embrace that. I really want the part of their journey to be part of whatever we're doing together, and that they are themselves, find themselves in an ownership of what they do, because that's the important part. So, for example, if you are a person that is hired in the company to be the one taking care of the management of the lab, meaning everything from quality control to making sure that infrastructure is there, all of that, okay? The worst thing you can do as a leader, first of all, is micromanagement, which I hate. Really, it's one of the things that I
think we
totally
all do.
hate.
I think
Okay.
we all dislike
Okay.
it.
And that means, of course, that you're taking a risk because you need to let that person go. You need the person to show you what that person can do, okay, in that aspect, okay? So trust, one is the things, trust on that journey. And the other one is to make sure that they have a safety net enough so they feel that they can make the mistakes that they might need to make, okay? So that means that in an organization, yeah, you will probably need to have a buffer that maybe this, whatever they are working on, will probably have bad days and good days, and that you need to have that as a buffer, always in your head, having that as a buffer. So if you have a deadline, for example, let's say that you're developing something and you have a deadline for 2 months, okay? I usually in my head say, let's put that in my head, a deadline of 3 months instead. Because then I know that, okay, 2 months is there and we are going to have something, but is it what we wanted to have? Is it something that is there, realistically there? And that has worked quite well. The ownership part is extremely important for any person to have, that they feel that whatever they are doing, that it's important for the company, that they are making a contribution for whatever the company is doing. That's the part of the ownership, not ownership in the part of, oh, this is my share, these are my things. That's not the ownership I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ownership of what they have been able to contribute to the company and that they are cherished for that.
Yeah.
That's the important part. And I think that if you make an organization with that motto and that concept in your head from the beginning, it is easy to continue with it, okay? And all the recruitments, all the people that you recruit are going to be people that you want to include in that mentality, in that concept, in that sphere. So meaning gender equity is there from the beginning. There is obvious that. I would say making sure that you really, really understand the skills and also the lack of skills that someone might have. The part of viewing the team as an entity that can move and is an organic entity that will move in different ways. And the other part is communication, which is just one of the, I would say, the biggest challenges in any organization, that you can say, let's go left, but everyone understood, okay, did she mean left, or did she mean only left, right, or did she mean, okay? So making sure that whatever it is that you're communicating, and sometimes I'm not perfect in that. I know that I need to work on that sometimes, and that's okay. I'm also learning, so that's the other part. So I love that part of my job, the team part, making sure that people feel involved and feel that they are part of the journey.
Yeah, such an important part of it. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess I'm curious, like, any advice for like scientists and academia people that want to transition into this world, or just a couple of maybe main points or things that you've learned, and also
Mm-hmm.
maybe just some things that have been really challenging for you, like
Mm-hmm.
going that from there to here.
I think that one of the things that I would say is this: don't think of it too much. Meaning,
For everybody, I feel like for everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it is because I think that especially, and this is a gender difference, okay? Women are notorious for rethinking or overthinking or whatever we're doing, but don't do that. Just risk it, because the risk that you probably think is a risk is actually not a risk anymore. Because, and that is that how it is. I mean, I would have loved to have ventured before, but in my case, what I understood quite, because I listened to people, this is the other one, listen to people and really take in the information they're giving you. Ask questions. So if you want to go into business, don't be the one that thinks that knows it all. Actually, you probably know nothing. Okay, so go into a conversation really as the one that is the stupid person in the room, okay? And own it. Really own the fact that you are probably the person with the least information of how to make a business in that room. And own it means that then you can ask all the questions. I mean, then there is no other stupid questions. You can literally ask anything, okay? And be that confident in yourself, because what you will get back is information that is extremely valuable for you as a future entrepreneur. The other part, think of it as a journey that is not only for you, but for you entire, if you now have a family, that also includes your family. That means that coming from academia, where you probably maybe had some research done and you were, let's say that you are a young academic person in their early postdocs, and they would like to then go and venture into making a business, a biotech business, for example. Think of the risk for whatever is coming, but include your partner or your family in the journey. Not in the nitty-gritty details, like, for example, when you're making your budget or something. That's not what I mean. I mean,
they don't care about that.
They don't care about that. In the ups and downs, you will have those ups where you will say, oh my God, look what we did, and it's so cool, and so on and so forth. Celebrate with them. And then also tell them, today was a really bad day, like one of the worst shitty days ever. And show that. Why? Because especially if you have children, that will make them understand entrepreneurship from the beginning. Life journey lessons that are extremely important for them to have in the end. So I'm not saying that my children will become entrepreneurs, but the fact that they have had that opportunity to see it like really face to face and know the struggles makes that journey for them, understanding that journey for them, much easier. And that with that, their concept of empathy for whatever is happening is it broadens up, and it becomes more, I would say, open and so on. So that's the other part. Something that I struggled with was to understand at the beginning was more, am I going to be good enough for the role that I was in? So the typical, I would say, imposter syndrome, okay? And so on. And I think that, has it gone away completely? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I think that with the help of people that I've talked to, and this is the other advice, this is the last advice that I will give, always have, if not friends, neutral people you can really talk to about your own journey. So about how you are feeling about different decisions that you're making and things like that. That's extremely important.
And do you
I have
find
mentors for that.
You have mentors for that? How did you find those? I'm always so curious, like, like finding mentors in that have gone through a similar experience in entrepreneurship. Yes. Like, how did you find those?
I mean, I'm a person that sometimes I feel that I'm too shy sometimes to talk to people which I don't know, and so on and so forth, even though I think that others would probably say, no, you're not shy. But anyway, what I have done, though, is that with the concept of talking to people, I have just then approached them afterwards and said, would it be possible for me to have you as a person, as a sparring partner for questions that I have? And you always have mentors for different things. So, for example, I have not one mentor. I have several mentors. And those mentors are either because I need help with something which is very specific for business, something that is strategically business-wide. And I have other mentors that are there for my personal growth, or those that help me unleash whatever I'm having as a problem. For example, if I'm, you have about 100,000 different things that you need to do, and all of a sudden you feel yourself that you're completely overwhelmed. Have a mentor that is able to literally go, okay, now I need you to just tell me if my restructuring is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I've had that kind of mentor. And one of the things that I learned from those lessons is the following, and this is kind of quite cool. So think of your problems or your concepts as either stones, really big stones, or pebbles or sand. Okay? And try to put all the problems that you possibly, if you feel overwhelmed, just put them on a paper. You don't need to put them in categories. Just go ahead and just put them on a paper. And then afterwards, you categorize them as stones, pebbles, or sand. What I mean with that, the stones are the big ones. Like, okay, is my company going to survive next year? Things like that. Or is now I'm just telling you a concept, an example, but my dog is having problems with health problems in this case. Let's put it like that. And I need to solve that problem. That will be also another stone, another big stone, okay? Then you have pebbles. Pebbles could be, for example, today I need to finish up writing, 45 emails to people, okay? That would be a pebble, okay? Because if you think about it, if you think of the enormity of having someone that might need your help, your help for becoming better, and then that would be a pebble. And then the sand would be, for example, oh, I don't know what I'm going to make for dinner today. Okay? So then you categorize them, and that makes it easy, because if you think about a jar, you will only be able to put one big stone in that, probably. You will be able to put a lot of more pebbles, and then you will be able to put even more sand. I mean, literally every single part of the sand can sip through these other parts, okay? So then it makes you feel, at least me, it makes me feel that, okay, now I know what to do. Now I can deal with different things in a certain way. So that helps me a lot. But that was an advice that I got from a mentor. Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
And that is
prioritization.
Okay, and that is what I mean. You need to be humble enough to reach out to people like that. And that's the other part. Be humble in the
Yeah,
process.
I like that. Keeping humility. You mentioned a good thing I just want to touch on too, with the mentors is like somebody told me that spread them out. Don't go to this person for everything. Like have
No.
different people you can go to for different things so you don't wear
Yes.
out certain ones.
Yes.
And
Yes.
different people have different specialties. So I feel like that's really great advice too. And then I just really like the touching on the bringing the family and that in your life into the process too. I've been reading this book called Letters to a Young Entrepreneur that one of my professors at Stanford wrote, and he talks about his entrepreneurial journey. And one of the key parts he talks about is just what he learned from watching his parents be entrepreneurs and also with his kids and just his partner. And just such an important part to have everybody that you care about, on the journey in a way. It's
And
helpful for
make them
you
understand.
too.
Yes, because I think that it's not only about it should not be that you are the front center in everything of all the well that they do. That's not it. That's not it at all. It's a question of making them part of the journey, because the journey is going to affect them one way or the other. One way or the other, they are going to be affected by that journey. And that means that and due to the fact that you probably, or I am not an asshole, then of course that means that I'm empathic to know and understand their needs too. And that means that they need to be included in my journey and understand what I'm going through as much as I want to know what they are thinking of that journey as well. So that's important.
Perfect. If you could just distill it down, like what would be, if you could say 5 or 10 years, or, what impact do you really would be your dream that CopperVie could make?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in 5 years, I hope that definitely we have a service platform that is out, that is launched, and that has reached globally to different parts of the world, because this is a global problem that we're trying to solve. And then in 10 years, I hope that we have that we are able to spread. So we are in different parts of the world, and that our concept of actually having human relevant solutions for product testing is something that is mainstream, where people really think of it as, oh, duh, of course we need to think about this way.
Won't even think that when we used to test on animals, that sounds ridiculous. Like, why are there not people?
Exactly.
I could see that at some point, really, like you said. I mean, we're not mice, so if we have the science to create these models now, I mean,
or just another one. Nowadays we are actually able to have to test also for female conditions, and not only male conditions, or female conditions in this case, and not test them on male models, which we do now. So this is another part. Do you get me? So there are many things. So to make sure that we are in the situation where we say that human relevance and being an individual testing concept is something that is mainstream. That is like, oh yeah, of course we will do it like that. Because it's both more sustainable, it's more humane, it's more ethical. It ticks all of the things. So
I was just thinking about it more in terms of, which is also an important correlation. I mean, it does need to do that too. But I was thinking about it more just in terms of, preventative for the animal testing and then making it more accurate. But you're also speaking to, like, it's also be a lot better for humans later, because they're not getting all the side effects, because a lot of those have been eliminated prior to going clinical trials in humans. So there's just so many benefits there. Wow, that's exciting. Well, Elizabeth, I really appreciate your time today and your journey. I'm excited about where this goes for you all. And I'm also excited to hear that you're getting some money in the interim, so that you don't have to be really stressed with, like, trying to go grab other funds. I think people in MedTech would be a little bit jealous on that. Like, you found a way to use that in your platform, which I think feel like we all need to do that.
A lot of MedTech companies could easily do that too. And we're coming back to, and we can have another chat, Christopher, about the whole part of when should you go out? Should you go out when you have, like, a super duper, super great product that is, like, ready to launch in a week? Or should you actually start early revenue much before? Because actually, usually the products that we have are quite good, at least for early testing, quite early on. And this is the part that I think many people are missing,
I could see that.
Because we are so much perfectionists, me included, that we just develop and develop and develop and develop and develop.
20 years later, it's diluted 10 investments. Yeah.
And then we end up having a Series A with I don't know how many millions, because you have been developing forever. And then you have Series A with a company of 50 people or whatever, or even more. And then you have to have not 2 million, you need about I don't know how many millions to make this happen. And then the question is, can you do that if you don't have even showed what this, whatever device that you're doing or whatever you're doing can do?
Yeah. Well, and you're also getting all this data along the way too. You're getting revenue, but you're also improving the product along the way to where it's not 10 years before you're actually working with perfected customers.
Exactly.
So it's twofold, I feel like, which is, I feel like we need to get more creative, because the better solutions can come to market and more solutions can come to market. Like, it's just so expensive to bring, as you mentioned, in there's all that funding is not all as readily available as it used to be. So we
No,
need to
it's
find
not.
better
It's
ways.
not.
So that's
I mean,
exciting. Yeah.
I welcome all types of investments that can come up, but I
Yeah.
know that at the moment in this case, it's really hard. And I understand that. And this is also another part. Understand the market. If now the market is having struggles with that, okay, understand it, but then don't go, I don't know what to do. Really say, understand the market and do something about it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it takes that. Yeah, I love hearing that within this space because it's just such a long runway sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not as easy
Mhm.
as other, business ideas or
No,
some
it's not.
things with it's just so we need to get more creative and not do the boo like, oh, I just can't do it. And just
Yeah.
yeah, there's different ways to get funding. And just get creative about ways to generate revenue in the meantime. So yeah, I'd be welcome to potentially like a further discussion on just specifically on
Specifically that. And I think that it
that
will even
aspect
be,
of it.
Christopher, really interesting to have other people kind of have a panel discussion
Yeah.
on that. Because
Oh
it's
yeah,
really something that I think people should hear more, okay, about how to make revenues and how to make things work early on. I mean,
yeah,
and I don't have all the answers by far. So
for
in a
sure.
panel discussion, in a concept like that, if we can get even more people and more synergies to work and other solutions to come up, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need at the moment, especially for biotech or even for medtech for that matter.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I would
yeah.
really welcome that. I'm just kind of thinking through some other guests I'm gonna have on in the next few weeks
Hmm.
to think through that and offer that. I would
Yeah.
love to have a panel discussion and
Yes.
have some trading of some ideas, but that's being of service that could be helpful for the people
Hmm.
on it, also helpful for people because I feel like there's a lot of people in academia like yourself that are afraid to
Hmm.
take that leap. And if they can hear different creative, solutions
Yeah.
like might encourage
Exactly.
them to leave and go create some amazing things that the
Exactly.
world needs. So,
Exactly. And the other part is also that, I mean, one thing that I think is important also to have in mind is that there are many universities and many academic entities that are really willing to help young entrepreneurs or not young entrepreneurial minds which are in academia to push through and make something which is going to become a business, so a spin-off, so to speak. Mm?
definitely. Yeah.
And that's great. Unfortunately, I think a lot of universities and a lot of entities, research entities, which are academic, have become very greedy
No,
and they
yeah.
want to take a lot of the credit for that. So they want to, for example, if someone needs, for example, lab space or someone needs something else, then they will say, okay, you get that from us, but we are the ones that own the patents. Okay, things like that. I
Yeah.
completely understand that academia wants to, I don't know, have credits for that, but the question is, are we are they being too greedy for their own good
Yeah,
in
I
that
agree
case?
with you. I think that's good for young entrepreneurs to understand that too. Is like because they just
Yeah.
trust their academic institution and they're not business savvy, and they may be
Mm-hmm.
giving away like 95% of their idea, which I feel like does happen. It can be a good conversation too. So, yeah,
That's
Elizabeth,
another part, and that's also important to
important.
understand. Okay, that
Yeah,
you have in our case, of course, we struggled also because of that, because we are not a typical spin-off. Okay, so that means that uh, we struggle because we don't have, I would say, the support from academic entities, for example, lab space, for example, all that we needed to find and do and find solutions for ourselves. And that is a struggle in Austria and different concepts because the logistics or the infrastructure for stuff like that doesn't really exist in that concept. You have spaces which you can say, oh yeah, you can come here and you can rent a lab space, okay? Which of course is super nice if you have a lot of money, if you're a company, a startup with, I don't know, 1 million euros and you can spend part of that on infrastructure and equipment and things like that, great for you. But if you are just a company of a few people with a very limited budget, and you rather spend that into actually the people that you're hiring instead of actually putting that into the rent space, then you're struggling because that doesn't exist. Mm.
Yeah.
I would, one additional thing, and this is kind of the last one because otherwise people will go crazy and say, oh my God, this lady's talking too much. And in that case, that's the only thing that I will tell is the part of having solutions for that too. So for example, when it comes to, and we have a very good example in the Czech Republic at the moment, where you have actually the government coming in and giving support for hubs in cities, for example, in Prague, in Brno, in other places, where these hubs have really the most advanced equipment that you can get. Okay, those that cost a lot of money, which is impossible for startups to get because it's just too much money. Or people that are good in handling those devices and taking care. So it's like I would say a center or
incubator,
a center
like
where you can go. And then here's the trick: that it's supervised by them. It's partly funded by the government, and then you as a company only pay a fee for when you need that equipment or when you need that facility. That means that it doesn't become something where you have a burden of having your own space and creating your own space for everything at the beginning, but you can have that support until you are in a phase where you can actually say, okay, now we know that we're going to use this, microscope or whatever all the time. So now it's worth to actually buy one of our own.
Yeah, no, I tell you, we have that a lot in the US too. Yeah, like here in Portland, one called Otrati. Yeah, and I think a lot of young people don't understand that either, where there is options to do that. So it's just,
exactly.
you gotta get
And
creative, and there's
that's
things
the
out
part
there.
being a creative. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, well, thank you so much for your time, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I really appreciated your time and just learning more about your journey. I'm excited to see where it goes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christopher. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the MedAccess AI podcast, where we explore the intersection between medicine, technology, and human potential. For more info on today's guests, please check out the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed the episode, please follow us on YouTube or check out our website at medaccessai.org. I'm your host, Christopher Wilson. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.